Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's rant on Culprits, a TV series from Hulu that looks to be English and kind of woke, but it's not a bad pitch. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. Links in the description. Comedy Heart in South Jersey. It's the Pineys. Books 1 through 13 available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. This is from the writer and director of I Care a Lot. I did not like the look of that particular movie. Executive producer of The Night Manager and The Undoing. I'm unfamiliar with that. So, the premise is this is Joe, and he's supposed to be an average Joe. Haha. But 3 years ago, he committed a high-end bank robbery, and his perfect suburban life is about to become unglued because now the people he robbed are out to get him. And he has to reconnect with his old gang and go back to his old life and save his family and blah, blah, blah. You can pretty much write the rest. It's not a bad pitch. Now, what they're trying to do is insert a gay guy in the role. So he's gay, he's got a husband and 2 kids, and oh, they're the perfect American dream. Yeah, that doesn't really totally scan. It really doesn't. Because number one, if you adopt kids, and I'm going to have to insist that he did adopt kids, right? I mean, probably did. Probably didn't have kids while he was a bank robber. His kids are older than 3. So he adopted kids. They're pretty damn thorough when they go through your background. And you don't get to be a bank robber of the highest order by not committing crimes most of your life. You know, so I find it very difficult to believe this setup. The pitch is nice. I mean, it's a classic pitch, right? But yeah, I don't buy the whole American dream like portion of that with the gay guy. I don't think it quite works. I just don't see it. I really don't. Now you could argue, well, you're blah, 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 blah. Whatever your argument is. I don't know, but you tell me. Does that scan? Does that totally scan to you? Doesn't really scan to me. Now, again, if it had been a straight couple, then it could be like he met a girl and they had kids, and then you could progress it to like 10, 12 years. That would make sense. That would make sense. It would be his own kids. But you're talking about a guy who, you know, is a criminal at heart. And you could argue, well, he's a criminal with a heart of gold. You know those kind of protagonists. Yes, I do. But, you know, it's different when you adopt kids as opposed to they're your kids. It changes the nature of the stakes. There's just no denying it. So, you know, can you make this movie? Yeah, you can make it. But, you know, it's not going to be, it doesn't scan as well if it were a straight couple, because a straight couple would be, by definition, more average. As much as you want to be like, oh no, LGBTQIA 2S+, no, they're average. They're just not, statistically speaking. So, I don't think it quite works with this pitch. I think you needed to adjust the time period and put a straight couple in the role. But that being said, it's not a bad pitch. Maybe you could make it work, but I doubt it. You know, it just undermines it. And it's only been 3 years. His kids are much older than that. Even the kids might not be that invested in being with these 2 guys. 3 years? The kids were, I don't know, in a foster care prior to that. You're really pushing it. you're really pushing it to get people to believe this. Oh no, no, they're the American family. No, not really. Not the average. It just, you know, again, if you expanded the time period a little bit, and it wouldn't have been that bad to expand the time period. At least if you had expanded the time period, you could say they had adopted the kids when they were babies, and then they knew no one else. Then you might not undermine it so much. It'd still be a little wonky, but the fact that they were together that long, you'd be like, okay, you could accept it more. But this is what the woke do to, in my view, TV shows and movies. They insist upon their agenda regardless of how it impacts anything. No, 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 you have to accept this world. No, an audience doesn't. Even if you made this mandatory viewing under a crazy state authoritarian, it still wouldn't work. People would watch it and just sort of pretend like they buy into it, but they actually wouldn't. Here you have a female cop because, again, I think it's woke. Here he is in a scary mask when he was a bank robber. It's a pretty cool mask, I'll tell you that. That's the one thing. And it's not, again, it's not a bad pitch. It's not a bad pitch at all. But, you know, if you're going to put in characters who are LGBTQIA2S plus blah, 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 make them actually from that world. They have, in my view, different sensibilities. You have to acknowledge that. They're not immediately like go right into the sensibilities of a straight couple in 3 years with older kids. It's an adjustment. Even if you say yes, they could, you know, they'll be exactly the same, just about. There's still an adjustment time there. You're only talking 3 years with older kids and a marriage. You're telling me this guy was married before that too? This isn't an assembly. A family isn't an assembly line. You just assemble. You have to have a real history there for the family to work. And is this his gang? I don't know. Maybe. The gang you could play fast and loose with, especially if it's more of a comedy. This feels more like, I don't know, it's trying to be, the tone is kind of like Alias kind of tone, or to me, one of the best kinds of movies like this is The Long Kiss Goodnight, if you've ever seen that with Gina Davis. But at least in that, she didn't remember her former life, and so you could sell that a little better. This, he totally remembers. He's living a lie already. And so you're already undermining the very thing the ideology wants to promote. You're just ignoring all the factors in the screenplay by throwing it in there. The devil's in the details. It's always been true with writing. And when you just mess around with the details because of your ideology, you're going to end up undermining components of this. So part of it'll work. I mean, again, the pitch is super solid. I love the pitch. It's a classic pitch. But the execution is going to be undermined. It's going to be undermined. Now, if you had done something where they didn't have kids, you could sell it a little better. I would still say 3 years is probably not even enough time. It's barely enough time for his husband to be like, oh man, I gotta, you know, do everything for my husband. But you really should. I think the screenwriters didn't think this through. Maybe because your protagonist actor isn't old enough, but he looks, I mean, he could pass for being older. You could say he's in his late 30s and throw another 10 years on that. Wouldn't be a problem at all. He's a, you know, an actor who's in shape. I mean, although I think for a bank robber, he's sporting a lot of hair that could be left behind in a robbery. He should have something over his head. I mean, these are basic things to think about when you write something like this. When you write anything that's heist related, you gotta think. You gotta think these things through. They would have had, if you just have a normal, even not long head of hair, and you're walking around, you're gonna lose hair. Hair just falls off you all the time. You're talking about a guy who's got extra long hair, and it's blowing around and hitting the back of his back while he's doing stuff, and it's going to be an exciting bank robbery, I assume. He would have left DNA everywhere. Bank robbers think of this. Screenwriters ought to think of it too. It's not enough to just give him a cool look. Uh, you could have had him in the past. He could be bald or near bald or wear a thing on his head. I mean, he's not even covering up his eyes. He's going to be all over the videotape. How could they not find this guy? So, but again, the idea that you focus on a successful bank robbery that's, and the robbers have already retired with their money and they're having a great life, and now their great life is being upended by, I don't know, a rival gang or whatever this is. Yeah, that's a cool pitch. Because you can explore this world. Now it's reversed. Now they have something to lose. All their money and going to jail and whatnot. It's years later and they're finally found. Again, the time doesn't work, but I think with a rewrite you could have fixed this thing. I would have sat down and my first thought would have been, it's got to be a longer time period. Number one. Number two, besides all the various factors about bank robberies, I probably would have said, why can't we just have a straight couple? Or why do we have to have kids involved? Maybe it could be, look, you could still have two gay guys, but instead of their kids, have it be his sister, his younger sister that he takes care of. Maybe his mother passed on, which is why he was forced to become a criminal, because they were in dire straits, and he's always taking care of his younger brother and sister, and they're raising them. Could work, especially with that tight 3-year time period. It could work because then, it was like his mother had the kids. He's always been around, but for the last 3 years, he's raised them. And that would make sense. Like, he went off, did his bank robbery, did his crime. His family didn't know about it. His mother dies. He comes back. He has to raise his younger siblings along with his gay husband. That would have been a better way to go at it. And then they would have been blood related. It would have been uber important for him to sacrifice anything for his blood. And it would have tied in with why he became a criminal in the first place. He had to. He had to do it because he had no choice. His family was so poor. This is all he knew how to do. His cohorts, though, are a little too fabulous, I think, for gangsters. So, but it seems to have been produced in the UK. So, all right, let's read the write-up. Joe Petrus is living the American dream. He is fiancé to Jules, dad to Frankie and Bud, and starting his own business in a sleepy suburban town. But unbeknownst to his family, Joe has a secret. 3 years ago, he was recruited by the notorious criminal Diane Harewood to join her crew and take part in high-stakes crime, one that promised to make Joe rich and provide him with a brand new life. Now his dangerous past is about to catch up with him when a killer starts targeting the crew behind the crime. Joe realizes the only way to keep his family safe is to return to London, make contact with his old gang, and track down Diane. That doesn't sound like a good plan, by the way. Who's going to protect his family while he's in London? But it's a series, so it's not a movie. December 8th, only on Hulu. Sounds like a bad plan. Sounds like the good plan would be to get your family and all your millions of dollars and get the hell out of wherever you are. disappear again and hope they don't find you. But again, his family doesn't know. But anyhow, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a TV series like that, where I would say the first couple episodes would be cool because it'll be like, oh, his whole life is turned upside down. And then the other episodes are going to be like, how do you sustain this? I don't think you can. Probably would have been a better movie. Do it all at once. But I don't know. It's on Hulu if you want to see it. And that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for our more bass takes. If you can find a more bass take, I say take it. Tomorrow begins my 8 days in a row of doing events, and I'm very excited. First up is the Crosswicks Library. That's going to be at 7 p.m. That is in, what town is that in? I don't even know. Oops, wrong button. Crosswicks. That's also the name of the town. Crosswicks, New Jersey. It's near Bordentown. Near Bordentown. So that's at 7 p.m. How to Hunt the Jersey Devil. So I hope to see you there. And we'll see you in the next one.